we had a bit of a good time playing it with Tarrant. I shot him in the head and he immediately died. And I've never seen him laugh quite so much.
Hi everyone, it's Stella from Meeple University. I'm joined by Henry.
Very excited for this review. I like my Warhammer.
I know.
I'm a bit of a collector.
Exactly. And that's the reason why I've got Henry here with me, because Henry has been painting some Warhammers, and Warhammer or Games Workshop brought up these board games, kind of like an easier entry level to board games.
Yeah, I jumped all over that.
Yeah, for sure.
Very excited to see these 3 games.
So we have the Blitz, the Lost Relics, and the Combat Arena. So we're going to review these 3 games one at a time, and then obviously we're going to give you an overview and then what we think of it.
Yeah.
We're going to start, or overview, or one of these 3. We're going to start with Blitzball.
Yeah.
Let's put this aside. So Blitzball, Henry, maybe you can start with the history, the previous Blitzball that's ever made.
So Blitzball, I mean, there's a game called Blood Bowl, which is what Blitzball is based on. Blood Ball's been around forever, as far as I'm aware, probably older than me. And there's been plenty of editions, and they're always releasing new ones. And it is basically gridiron football, but set in the Warhammer fantasy world. So there's all these fantasy teams, and they're all playing these football games. It's a little bit brutal. Players can die. Players can get injured. And there's always it's just a high drama football.
High drama it is. It's like the wrestling, there's a high drama wrestling.
That's it, yeah.
Right? And then there's wrestling.
Yeah, so I haven't had a lot of experience playing that particular version.
Yep.
I have played a video game of Blitzball, which I've enjoyed, and played through I think there's a campaign version that you can play. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. We got a good introduction to the game, and I've also played a card game version of it as well, which I've really enjoyed. And now with Blitzball, I've really enjoyed this one as well, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Well, we jump to the review now. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get to the overview quickly, shall we? So this is a Blitzball laid out here, and this is a 2-player game, so one team against the other. The goal of it is to be the first one that has 10 score ahead of your opponent.
Correct.
So the main score you can get is from taking the ball in the middle. Where's that ball again?
Let's grab a ball for the game, shall we? This one just here.
So one of the main one is to grab the ball to opponent's base, which is this checkered colored thing. But you can also once per turn, you can get this, and the points are there. So if you meet the condition that's set in there, you grab that, you get the points in here, for example, that one, and then you flip it, and that's a bonus play. So it helps you break the rules in the game.
Yeah, so these are like plays that are happening in the game. So imagine it's like thematic things that have happened in the game.
That's right.
So if someone frees up the ball and tackles it and it comes loose, you get rewarded for making this play happening, and you get given the points.
There you go. So that's basically the goal of the game and how you get points. So on your turn, you can do 3 actions. So you can do the actions with the same character or different character. So those 3 actions you can run. So we all started, I'm here, the human team, and Henry, he is the rat team or Skaven team.
Skaven team, yeah.
And we all have slightly different stats as well. So on your turn, you can do a few actions, and actually it's listed here. So you can run up to whatever it is on your character.
Yeah, up to your move value. Yep.
Move value, that's it. So for example, my Blitzer can move 7, Catcher 7, like diagonal, orthogonal, and so on. It can actually throw balls. So you get the balls and then throw your team with this unique ruler.
Yeah, and you just got to pick out another player.
Yeah, your own team.
Yeah, your team, that's right.
And you can do so once you actually get to a certain, you get to within the space to your opponents, or adjacent to diagonal or orthogonal, then you cannot run anymore, and then you have to do the block or sidestep.
Correct.
Basically, it's take an action and then you move slowly.
Yeah, it's also the mark action as well, which lets you get adjacent to your opposition,
That's
ready
right.
to tackle them and take them out.
So that's the like a really generic overview, and there's another action that you can do, which is there's a tackle action which you tackle someone else using roll of dice. Depending on your armory, you roll also dice whether you block it or not, and then to stand up, that's an action. And also, if you're knocked out, you go to your reserve. Where's that reserve again?
It's in your hand, actually.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. I moved it around. So reserve, and then that's an action to bring your teammate back. Or if they score, manage to take the ball there, apparently.
Yeah, they get signed by a huge team, carried out of the stadium on the backs of their fans. So
ungrateful person.
And you've got to have to recruit someone else for your team
to
fill in for that spot.
I just laugh at that when you mentioned that him. So it goes there, and then we can just recruit it and put it there. So that's an action. That's basically it. The rules are pretty simple, but then there's each character has got different powers.
Yeah, there's a fair few stats and stuff like that. And coming from a Warhammer background, I find this very simple to follow.
Yes.
But for someone who doesn't come from a Warhammer background, there's a little bit of knowledge dump here of understanding armor saves and throw rolls and achieving a certain, you achieve on the plus run, and there's modifiers, -1 to rolls and that kind of thing.
That's also D&D. I had that D&D background, so that's kind of like, it's not that really hard, really, but you just play a few runs, then you'll be fine.
And yeah, there's a lot of this game involves a lot of positioning of your players. So
that's right.
You want to create sort of walls where players can't run past because you're going to be adjacent to them. So you're going to have to.
That's one strategy.
Yeah, they're going to get slowed down. And they can't get past your players. You also want to be trying to gang up on people because it gives you a bonus to tackling them, gives you a much better chance of taking them out, even injuring them. So, and cards will also reward you for doing such things like that. And you also want to be trying to get your players away from other players so you can throw the ball to them and create them in space. But obviously getting them out there into space, you're wasting other actions, and the other person might be able to benefit from that. So there's a lot of tactics going on here. There's a lot of back and forth. Tries will happen at a whim sometimes, and tries will happen after long, arduous plays of back and forth ball dropping and all sorts of things.
I'm just creating a scenario where later in the game, and then that might happen, and then that's what you say, where balls would be bouncing from one to another player, so they tackle it, and then it's like a chaos.
That's a rule I really like, where when players try to pick up the ball, when they're sort of near other players, they can't just easily pick up the ball. You've got to roll this D8 dice, and you refer to this little chart over here, and it will fly out in a random direction. It might fly into the hands of someone else who's also being marked, so they have to drop the ball, and it might bounce even 4 or 5 times until the ball ends up somewhere on the other side of the map. And everyone's scratching their heads wondering what the hell's happening. And so there's a nice juicy luck element thrown in there, which when it's kind of strategic tactical game with actually a fair bit of luck, but I enjoy luck in my games, and I think it takes the edge off. It's just a bit of fun, and the game also ends when this deck runs out of cards as well.
That's right.
If you're both terrible at scoring tries, and
just
you want to battle it out for a really long time, then that deck's a timer as well. So.
And this actually gets used pretty quickly, because if your opponent doesn't score, and then you get the chance if you don't score, and then I get the chance to discard 1 card, just as a timing mechanic as well.
Yeah, and there's huge swings that can happen with these. If you claim all 3 on a single turn, you can get a whole bunch of bonus points for doing that as well. So it's a swinging game. It's got all those elements, which I really enjoy. And comparing it to Blood Bowl, which is something the reason why I haven't played the tabletop version is there is a lot of rules. It is
yes.
There's a lot more players. It's a much bigger box, and this is definitely a really good entry starting place to get into that bigger box of Blitz Bowl. But I don't feel like you even need to with this. I think there's a lot of game in this box, and they also provide you with cards for all the different teams. So
let's
if you
have a
want
look
to go
at
out
those
and
cards.
buy the models, I think.
Oh yeah, sorry, I've got it.
So they didn't
It comes with 2 teams, but it has these different cards.
Rules for I don't know how many teams there are here.
Put it on the.
Put it this way, shall I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got Chaos here. We've got Elf, goblins.
And these are already out there.
Little
Warhammer.
halflings.
I love that
got
one.
like trees and
that
stuff.
tree man. It's like giant mini Groot.
Yeah, and like there's actually rules in there. Yeah, there's some advanced rules we haven't played with yet, but you can throw your players across the field and do all these type of things as well. So if you have like a big tree, throwing your little halflings over the field.
That's hilarious. They'll be hilarious, right?
We've got corn and lizard men. I'm a big fan of lizards. So the team that I'm on.
You probably have some paintings of lizards as well.
Yeah. We've got necromantic, nobles. It just goes on and on. Like there's so many here. So obviously it doesn't come with the models for any of these teams.
No, you have to buy them.
It has the stats for them on the back.
Yes.
So if you do have the models or wish to, use stand-in models, even if you had, the little wagon that they're having.
Wagon.
It's the pump wagon.
No, now I want to buy it just because of the
look. There's like the stilty runner who's on stilts for some reason.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, if I buy, would you paint them? Henry? Maybe not.
Yeah.
It takes time to paint.
I think I'd like to there's something called speed paints now that can really shorten the process of painting and makes it really accessible. So something that we should look into sometime, Stella, if you want to
okay, if I have time.
have a day, do some painting of your
there are so
games.
many other things that we can do, like learning video editing. Yeah, so this is great. Like, that is actually great to include those other teams available what to purchase.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Like, it's just if you're really enjoying this game and you want to, spend, it might cost you $50 or something. This is Australian I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's
like $30 US.
It's there.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And I believe all the models come from the other game, Blitz.
Oh, right.
They're pre-existing models. Have just included rules for them in this game.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. Especially once the players are familiar with the rules, it's meant to be like really quick, like he, and then ball throw everywhere.
Yeah.
And this.
And it doesn't take too long for both players. Maybe you play a couple rounds and then the rules start to click and things will fall into gear and it becomes really dynamic back and forth. Which, I've played it with a few different people now and it's
really so it's comes recommended.
Yeah.
For a 2-player game for strategic if you don't mind a bit of luck, which you don't mind. Yeah. So it comes recommended.
And there's a lack of sport games in the board game world.
That's right. Yes, thank you for reminding me of that.
Sport games is something that I would appreciate to see a lot more of. Honestly, I haven't probably tried all the ones I should have. You don't see them very highly rated. On the Board Game Geeks and stuff, and I should try more. But if anyone has any good sport game recommendations,
let us know in the comments.
To hear them. I'm a big soccer fan, so if there's any really good soccer games, please point them out to me.
There's a flip kick soccer, the dexterity soccer. Not quite like this one.
A game called Subutio. It's very British game, I would say, and that was quite fun. It's flicking players though. You get to, like, flick them around the board, and it's actually like physical. So you have to flick the player into the ball and kick it into the goal.
You know that, like,
it's
the table
it
soccer.
It is like table soccer.
Do you want to borrow it?
That is different.
I've got one.
You do have one.
Like, it's really small. Like, we've got a video. How to assemble. It's already assembled, so it's really easy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there you go. So you let us know if you have any sports games, especially soccer. Let us know in the comments. Henry could check it out.
Check it out, for sure.
And that's true about the sport. I guess it's the challenge of making sports game in the real time. This is not real time.
It is. I've thought about it long.
Yeah.
And it is tough to integrate all the elements of sport into a board game because you feel like you're always missing out on something that makes the sport special.
Yeah, there you go. So that's it. That is Blitzball. Let's move on to the next one. The next game is Combat Arena.
Yes.
Warhammer 40,000 Combat Arena. Clash of Champions. That's a long title.
That is a long title. Yes. Warhammer 40,000 Combat Arena Clash of Champions.
The fast-paced miniature combat game. we can just say Combat Arena.
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay.
CA.
Australian has got this habit of shortening things.
Arena.
Let's get to the game. Okay. So overview first. Henry, I'll let you do this one.
Yes.
So I really want to.
Here we have it set up for a 4-player game. So in this game, you're going to be fighting to the death, essentially. And
last one standing.
Last one standing wins.
Yeah.
You can team up. You can be all, up to you. But basically, it's a fight for the death, and you're all locked into this little arena. There are some like electrical stations in the middle here that if you get shoved into, you can instantly die. It's quick. It's brutal. And it's
quite random. Yeah.
There's a lot of dice chucking in this game.
All right, how does this play?
I would say a beer and pretzel game.
Okay.
Term. I think would fall into that category of genre. We had a bit of a good time playing it with Tarrant. I shot him in the head and he immediately died. And I've never seen him laugh quite so much.
Let's share how does it play.
Yes, let me continue with this overview.
Yes.
So, start of each round, you're going to be shuffling these cards based on player symbols. So this represents the Space Marine Lieutenant here. And you'll get a number of cards shuffled in as your token is on this track here. And this is how many actions you'll be given that round. And your actions come out in a random order based on after we shuffle, let's say if it's the first round, all 12 of these cards will all be shuffled together.
Let's say I do that and shuffle it. All right.
Yeah.
I'll share it for you. I'm the assistant now.
Yeah.
And then you'll just...
And then...
Each round it will get revealed, so we'll see.
And now we know that the Plague Champion here...
What's that?
Will have their turn.
That's right.
Also at the beginning of each round, we will dish out 5 combat cards to each player. These will just be shuffled and randomly given. These are the abilities that you can perform on your turn. They've got 3 sections to these cards. There is a movement at the top. This will indicate how far you can move, in which direction you can face during your move and after your move. And some of these cards will feature a little skull icon with an up or down arrow. That will move you up and down on this track. And if you can't move down any further, then you can't do that action. So there's a whole bunch of moves. Some moves that you move and attack, others that you run away, all sorts of things.
So this gets dealt randomly, and on your turn you have to play a card to do your action.
Correct. And you'll have 5 cards at the beginning of each round. You also have an attack in the middle. These will do various little varieties on just rolling some dice, which is what's going to be here. And this is how many dice you'll roll. And you're going to be referencing your player sheet on who you can target. So if I'm playing this lieutenant here, the Space Marine Lieutenant, he has a ranged shot and a melee attack. And his ranged attack can shoot like a cone out in front of him, and anyone in that cone he could target with that attack. And you'll get a bonus if they're directly in front. There's like a dark blue section and a light blue section here. And same with the melee, so it all works functionally the same. It will tell you what you need to roll in order to hit the target and how many wounds you'll do for each hit that you get on them. And the target will have a chance to do some armor saves to see if they can stop that hit from going through. And they also have a chance to play some cards to try and deflect or parry or dodge these attacks. So you can spend cards not on your turn to try and dodge, but then you might have less cards on your turn to actually attack people with.
That's like
there's a little bit of a balance
cards.
They're all multi-use cards. And so you'll be sort of randomly taking turns doing that. Every time your health gets taken down to the bottom, you're going to get slightly wounded. So you're going to lose, your abilities will get slightly worse. You'll slowly lose talents. And you'll be taking these critical wound cards, I believe they're called, which will do random things. Most of them normally push you up this track a bit, but come with some other little negative. Maybe your opponent can move you in a direction that you don't want to face. Or maybe you get shot in the head and immediately die. That was my favourite card ever.
Because you are the one that inflicting the Tarrant, not the one that receiving it. Okay, keep going while I find that.
Yes, so... Yeah, and it's just going to be like a mayhem fight until as people start dropping. As you take wounds, you're going to be resetting this track with 1 skull at the top. and
until
slowly
all your health is
losing
gone.
more and more health each time you take a critical wound, one of these cards, and losing more and more abilities. You get weaker and weaker.
And eventually
so you either all gang up with someone, put them out early, or you can, I don't know, you just do whatever you want.
Do whatever.
It's really like, it really is a bit of fun, you know. It's just like
It is.
dice chucking.
Dice chucking.
Yeah.
So don't take this seriously
Yes.
because it's very, like a lot of this is random. Okay. We're going to review right now, right?
Yeah.
So this one here, this is the turn order randomness. I mean, like, you never know who's going to have turn next time. Like, that person's in a strong position could have, like, whatever, just do the kill. I got hit by Tarrant, and then you hit Tarrant, and then he died. This is the headshot. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, there's a, we play Cold Express. I don't know if you know Cold Express game. This is the programming game. It's a completely different game anyways. Tarrant was the sheriff. He got shot. He was knocked down. He got shot, and then he got kicked out of the train and then died. That was like hilarious. Sometimes he loves it when he dies like in a hilarious way. That's why he had so much fun. Back to this game.
Yes.
So this is what I think is, it is like, don't take it seriously because of the randomness. And this card is obviously very random. You can just die after 1-2 turns, whatever.
Yes.
And the dice roll, I'm really bad at that, as usual, while you are doing pretty well with that. Dice hates me, I swear.
Yeah, it's very much a game though. You just, if you sat with friends and you maybe got half an hour in the afternoon, you don't want to teach many rules and you just want to play a quick game or like just unwind after a long game or something like that, then this might be a good one just to like throw some dice, have a laugh, wash off the last game or something, you know. So
but it's not strategic, like don't take this very seriously.
No.
This is, I don't know if I like this mechanic. I don't know if I like this randomness mechanic. I don't know if I like the dice. What I like is this mechanic over here, which actions that adds your action point. It's not even called action points. It's called actions.
It's just like the amount of actions you get each turn.
Yeah.
So you can do useless things on your turn to get more actions in
down.
future turns. And you can do really good things on your turn to get less actions in the future.
And this one is what I also like.
Yeah.
So multi-use cards. The top one is usually for moving. The middle one usually for attacking. The bottom one usually for defending.
Yeah. And obviously the heroes are very asymmetric. They've all got unique abilities.
That's correct, yes.
Some of them don't even have guns, so they have to come and punch people. Yeah, they're just... One thing I wouldn't say, though, is if you're interested in getting into the Warhammer 40k world, this probably won't convince you to get into that world. It's probably not the place to start if that's your intention. I would probably go out and buy one of the 40k base boxes with 2 armies in it and learn the rules from there. This is a very different game.
Yeah.
There's not much strategy here. There's not building up. There's no ability picking. There's no like working on your army outside of playing. It's like just a hit the table and let's get going type of game.
Yeah. That's actually, that sounds like the right the right definition.
So as a Warhammer 40k fan, this is like definitely something very different. Yeah.
So I think we prefer the Blitz ball.
Yeah, I definitely like Blitz ball more than this one in terms of strategy and game mechanics and that. But this is fine if you, as long as you know what you're getting. Then don't expect it to be something that it isn't.
Yeah, light fun, casual.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
And that is Combat Arena.
Let's move
on to the next one. Up to the last and third game, Lost Relics.
Yes.
A Warhammer Quest Lost Relics.
Find the treasure, battle the Magistra, escape the labyrinth.
Thank you for completing the title, Henry.
Yes.
All right, we're going to do overview and then review afterwards. And this is the game that Henry plays.
Yes.
Played.
I played this solo. So
as solo.
You play as all the characters in the solo game.
So same thing.
It's pretty much the same thing as playing with other people, other than you don't have to deliberate with people. You just go ahead and do whatever you want.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to that.
So here is a game sort of mid-scenario. We just sort of set this up now, but this is a game sort of mid-scenario. It's like the 4th or 5th mission in the campaign. Yeah, so there are 12 missions in the campaign in the box. And in Lost Relics, you will be controlling these 4 heroes out here. They're on the map here. They're a little bit hard to see from top down, but they've all got these really nice miniatures.
This is not heroes. This is bird.
And we have a bird as well. Don't forget the bird. How this game works is all your heroes will roll 3 dice each on all their cards. And heroes want to be trying to chain actions together to avoid the other sort of non-player characters, because they do reaction actions after every action players do. So if you can chain moves together and limit how many reactions your opponent is doing, then you're going to be doing well as the heroes. There's a few things that make this difficult, but in general sense, basically, you could pick a hero with a dice of 1, and you can do better abilities based on the dice roll. So the higher the dice, you can get better versions of your attacks, or be able to move further, or be able to rest and get more health back. But if I use the 1 dice for a move, I might have to move 2 spaces like this, then that would normally end my turn. But if someone had a 2 on their sheet, they could activate that before my turn ends, and they would do an action as well. So this guy might want to also do a ranged attack into this room, and they would do that attack, see if they kill any of these skeletons out here, and then someone with number 3 could jump in, have a turn, just like this. And you want to try and end your turn at a good spot where the enemy reactions aren't going to hurt you too much, and you sort of leave yourself some potential to keep chaining, because as you get towards the end, you can't just ignore a turn. You have to do an action, and if you've only got 1 action that you can chain, then you're probably just going to do a little bit of damage to them, and they're going to do a bit of damage to you, and it's not really a great trade-off. There's a few things that making the movement around here is complicated too. There's some room limits, so you can only have so many people in a room. If you're outnumbered in a room, you can't move out of that room until you've have more numbers than your opposition. And scenarios will have leaders that have special abilities, often spawning extra monsters or doing something like that, making the monsters do different things around you. Normally during each scenario that I found, there's 1 spot to get loot on the map. That means 1 hero on your mission can get one of these loot cards that will either give them a weapon, an armor, or a one-off artifact that they can use. These last between scenarios, so if you play like a full campaign, then you can build up abilities on your cards, but you're not restricted to only doing that. You can play one-offs. And sometimes killing the leaders and stuff like that will also give you treasures like this. If you kill this leader here, the game will give you a treasure for doing that as well. And I think the treasure rules will change, I think, as the scenarios from scenario to scenario, but the first couple that I played, there was only 1 spot to get treasure, so only 1 player managed to get that, and they'll just basically give you a better way of doing damage. So shall we get into the review side of things?
So you just want to just dungeon crawl and then
dungeon crawl. There's a mission. There's normally kill the leader at the end.
And survive.
Yeah, that was my experience.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's actually mechanically fine. This chaining ability actions is quite interesting, and there's a bit of play there. I kind of liked the way the movement worked and the damage, like there's area damage and stuff, and you can try and get all the monsters into an area and do a big move. It was really easy to play solo, despite controlling all 4 heroes. It just, because of the way the actions bounce off each other, it just made sense to. It always makes sense to play this game solo.
That's true, actually. If you have to control 4 characters anyway.
Yeah.
And you can just time it. Otherwise, if it's more than 1, 2 players, each player controlling 2.
Yeah. There's probably a few special rules or something that I might overlook when I'm playing solo, because there's quite a bit of information there. But you only play 1 mission, I think, and then you get your head wrapped around it. And the early missions are very easy. So yeah. It was pretty easy to play solo. So
sounds a pretty straightforward dungeon crawler.
Yeah, very straightforward. It's slimmed down. It's all ready for you to sort of get stuck in and playing pretty quickly. And it's just kind of a theme for the combat arena and this one. Blitz Bowl does have a fair bit going on, and there is you're gonna have to read that rule book and understand what's happening. but it is easier to teach than obviously its counterpart, Blitz Bowl. What's the other one called? Not Blitz Bowl.
Combat Arena.
Oh no, the other Blitz Bowl.
Blood Bowl.
Blood Bowl.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So the theme of all three games is they are trying to make the game more accessible, more easy, maybe like an entry point for people to come into the hobby and enjoy. Because Games Workshop have a lot of dungeon crawler games out there, and they're normally a much bigger box experience. I've played Silver Tower, which is one maybe from 4 or 5 years ago. Similar sort of heroes in that. The artwork was very different. I'm not a huge fan of what's going on. This is all the boards in the box. They're all double-sided.
Yeah.
But all the scenarios in the book use these 4 panels, and I'm not sold on this design.
Yeah, this is a bit... they're probably trying to eliminate the fiddliness of setup, so they put all these different size tiles in one board, maybe.
I would have liked a little bit more coherency going on here. Some of the rooms just seem to be a random assortment of different things going on, which thematically I can't really get into that.
Okay.
Like the minis are great.
They're always
the
great,
enemies,
right?
I feel like they could have been standees rather than these tokens.
Trying to save the price point, probably.
Yeah, but these are just, they don't really give a good presence of enemies.
I see, yeah.
I think if you're playing a dungeon crawler, you want to be in that world a bit
compared
more
to
than
others,
this.
yeah.
So I'm a little bit disappointed by these by these standees. Another thing is I wish getting treasure and stuff is a fun part of dungeon crawlers.
Or looting.
Looting.
Yeah.
And they've got some treasures here, and they look like they do quite some interesting things. Like you change dice rolls, that you ignore attacks.
Doesn't look like there's a character building for a 12
campaign. There's no in between character building. There's no development really, other than getting these treasures. So I wish there was a little bit more of that going on as well.
I can see
if you draw a treasure and your only treasure is a one-off use, increase your attack. That game, it doesn't feel very special.
Yeah, I see.
And there's going to be 3 other players. If you play it 4 players, 3 other players who didn't get a treasure during that mission, who might have to wait till 3 or 4 missions into the campaign to get anything new for their character.
Yes, there's not enough reward for the end of game.
There's no experience tracking. There's no anything like that.
Yeah.
So
the aim is for kind of like an entry level, simple dungeon crawler. Does that work or not? I don't.
I don't know if this is gonna draw people into the dungeon crawler genre.
Yes, I play dungeon crawlers on board game, but more on PC, like Diablo, Guild Wars, and those kind of like the feeling of dungeon crawlers, where you build your characters, you meet characters, you meet Down Fox. I don't know if that's actually his.
Yeah, I even played Warhammer Quest
looting
mobile app.
Oh yeah,
I played that a while in the past, and that's quite fun. But yeah, I definitely had a better time with Silver Tower, which was the one I played maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's a much bigger box. There's a lot more rules. So obviously not for their target market, but it is kind of, because this is a stepping stone basically for people to get into this hobby and get into the bigger dungeon crawls. And I wouldn't start with this one. I don't think I would probably jump straight to their bigger box.
Although with the very super rules.
But you will need to be a bit more of a hobbyist if you want to do that, because the miniatures in these ones are all very easy to put together. It's designed to give you that easier experience, whilst those big boxes can have quite a lot of snipping and filing and gluing all those bits, which I personally quite enjoy, but
I see.
It's not for everyone.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, this is the review from the angle of somebody who has played multiple dungeon crawler games.
I like dungeon crawlers, and I play lots. So yeah.
So this is like whether this is like, I don't know if someone that has not played dungeon crawlers. I don't know if this is, and you say that this is not.
I think
good.
I think it mechanically is quite fine, and I think if a little bit more love was put into this artwork and the enemies, even just the look of it, I think there's like the people that you're versing are quite interesting. The mechanics are fine; they're quite good. So if it's just presented a bit nicer, I would be happy to be like, I'll sit down and play. You know, but I just wish it was. Just a bit more was put into this game before they released it.
A bit more love.
A bit more love. Yes.
So that's it. That's all the 3 games. Is that it, Henry, for this one?
Yeah, that's it.
That's all the three games. And it sounds like Blitzball is still number 1 out of the 3.
I really like Blitzball.
There you go.
Yeah.
So recommend Blitzball if you like it. You don't have to know about the football.
If you want a sports game that feels a bit like a sports game, then it does a good job of that, you know. And I like the Warhammer theme, so that's for me. But I know it's not for everyone. But I think even if it's not for you, give it a go because the game is good.
Even I'm not a sports fan, and I quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that is all, and hopefully you find that useful, you enjoy that. And once again, Henry, where can people find you? I know you have Instagram, which we have mentioned, but now because you have a YouTube channel, let's mention that.
Yeah.
You can mention both. It's up to you.
Yeah, well, let's just go with the YouTube channel. So let's start playing. If you look up, I've got a run for Barrage, I've got Terra Mystica, I've got the new Wingspan. It just came out at the recording of this video.
Yes.
On Board Game Arena. So check it out. I think you teach Wingspan in 7 minutes, and you can get yourself playing there in no time at all.
So link in the video description if you want. Please follow Henry at Let's Play.
Let's start playing.
Let's start playing. Oh my God, I'm such a bad friend. I'm sorry, friend.
No.
Let's start playing on YouTube.
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you again for coming over.
No worries.
And
it's been fun.
Yeah, it's doing the 3 reviews for me. And everyone else, please help us, hit the like button and comments below and subscribe if you like. If you want us to make more of this review videos also, please let us know. We're both on Instagram as well. Henry's on _solo_board games. I remember that better than you. I remember better than your YouTube channel because it's new. Sorry. And that is it. Thanks so much for watching. And thanks again, Henry.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.